Reverend Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes III is a prophetic pastor, passionate leader, social activist, eloquent orator, and educator engaged in preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ and fighting against racial injustice. Dr. Haynes is also committed to and has devoted his life to economic justice and empowerment in underserved communities and touching and transforming the lives of the disenfranchised. He worked with the Center for Responsible Lending in order to fight economic predators in Texas and across the nation that engage in predatory lending. Birthed from the vision of Dr. Haynes, Friendship West founded the Thrive Intern and Leadership Program. During the first year, the Thrive Intern and Leadership Program employed nearly 100 young black males between the ages of 16 to 19. Dr. Haynes was publicly applauded by former President Barack Obama for the creation and success of the Thrive Intern and Leadership Program.
Before I came out, I was in a photo line, saw my good friend Freddie Haynes. He told me this summer they're going to hire 100 young men, pay them $10.10 an hour, maybe $10.50. As a consequence of this call, and the point is that my brother's keeper, that's not just something I do, that's not just something the government does, that's something everybody can participate in.
Dr. Haynes has received numerous awards and honors for his ministry and activism. In 2011, Dr. Haynes had the prestigious honor of being the featured speaker at the Congressional Black Caucus Annual Prayer Breakfast. In 2012, Ebony Magazine named him to its Power 100 list of most influential African Americans. The community outreach of Dr. Haynes has created opportunities for him to address large audiences via radio. For the past 13 years, he has given the message during the praise break for the nationally syndicated Ricky's Smiley Morning Show that reaches over 70 cities daily. He has also received numerous awards, honors, and accolades from numerous civic, political, educational, and philanthropic organizations. Eastern Star, please welcome Dr. Frederick D. Haynes III.
So thank you, Dr. Haynes, for taking the time to be with us this week. And you're always so gracious, and you are just such a gift to us. So thank you so much for this time.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. This is homecoming for me. So, you know, HBCU homecomings ain't nothing like them. So this is a historically black church university homecoming. So I'm glad to be here.
That's wonderful. Thank you. So, as long as I can remember, you have been coming to Eastern Star Church, and we know that you and Pastor Johnson have just this brotherhood, this friendship that is amazing. When did you know that Pastor Johnson was your guy? Like, wow, decades of friendship. When did you know it was solid?
Wow, you're talking about, what, 40 plus years? Yeah. And, you know, the funny thing is, when he came on campus as a freshman at Bishop College, you know, you could tell this brother's gonna be somebody. And we had this informal situation where we adopted, you know, the incoming freshmen, you know, young brothers, young sisters. And so, you know, but you have to also haze them a little bit to let them know, you know, you ain't there yet. Yes. So he handled that real well. And then what got me is, like, my senior year, I'm serving as interim pastor of Friendship West. And I was out of town for some reason, and so I asked him to preach. And when I tell you, I get back and they are talking about, please invite him all the time. Whenever you gone, have Jeffrey Johnson. Oh, wow. And so, and then when I finally got to Friendship West as pastor, they would say, is your friend Jeffrey Johnson available? And so I said, yes. So the fact that, you know, I'm still a young preacher myself, and here's someone, because the worst thing to happen is to have someone, you know, as your guest, and they die. You know, I mean, the sermon just flunks, and then people looking at you like, you know, why'd you invite them? And so to come back and hear, you know, we love him, and so the church really kind of cemented things for me, because not only could I trust him in my absence, but I'm liking how the Negro preaches too. You know, it's like he good. You know, it's like that scene in that movie, Coming to America. He good, he good. So you know what I'm saying, he good. So so that was kind of, you know, the beginning of solidifying. So the bishop experience and culture you know, set the stage for it, and then we developed a friendship that was even beyond it. So was there an aha moment? It may have been, you know, when, you know, I said, this Negro, he's something. And really, you know, what I've tried to do through the years, and we were joking about it last night, I've tried to friend up, you know, so I want to hang with people who are on their way somewhere, and I've always had that kind of mindset. And so I said, yeah, he gonna be somebody. You know, it's kind of like what Sam Proctor said about Martin King, a great event waiting to happen. And so, you know, I saw in, you know, Pastor Johnson, a great ministry waiting to happen. And I said, well, let me just, you know, up my game. And that made it, yeah, that kind of set the stage. That's amazing. That is so wonderful. Yeah. And up your game, you have done indeed. We have watched you just flourish across the world, share your ministry with world leaders, presidents. One of the things that I love and appreciate about your ministry is how connected you are to Black culture and how connected you are to music and just all the things. When you were on The Breakfast Club, I was like, what is happening? Yeah, me too. Dr. Haynes is on The Breakfast Club, right? And you're on Ricky Smiley, like you're everywhere. And my question is around like culture and hip hop. When did you first fall in love with hip hop? I'm in the movie. So the funny thing is, I kind of grew up with hip hop. And then hip hop started to basically liberate my sense of preaching identity. My homiletical identity was confirmed by hip hop. I think Phillips Brooks says preaching is truth through personality. Well, when I'm coming along, I felt like a second-class preacher homiletically because my style, I mean, I talk fast, I preach fast. And when I was beginning preaching, my pastor told me, when you preach, you go slow, rise high, strike fire, sit down in the storms. Well, I'm a helicopter. As soon as I start talking, I'm up. And so I'm hearing, Ralph West, Jeffrey Johnson, and they have this deliberate beginning. My mentor, Manuel Scott, deliberate in his beginning. Caesar Clark and all the people said, I mean, they're deliberate, and I get up, this is the day the Lord, I mean, I'm ready to go. And so one time, I'm in Gary, Indiana, we're at the simultaneous revival. Ralph West is preaching. Ralph dumps the house, and he does what Ralph does, and he's talking slow. And then, so after church, I say, man, I need you to talk to me. How can I change my preaching style to talk slow like you when I'm preaching? He said, Fred, you talk fast right now. I talk slow right now. If you get up preaching slow, you are preaching antithetical to who God made you. He said, so you'll become bipolar. You preach slow, but you talk fast. That ain't you. And so that, okay, Ralph, thank you. He said, you preach fast, so talk fast. But it wasn't enough until that night, that very night, I'm preaching, a young cat comes up to me. He said, I love the way you preach because you remind me of a rap artist. You rapping when you preach. As I said, you know what? I'm rapping when I preach. And so that became, and we've learned this word in school, my rhetorical persona, as it were, because it's number one, who I am, but then number two, okay, hip hop just basically confirmed that what I'm doing is cool. And then I started thinking about all these young folk coming to church. When I'm preaching at my own church, it's young folk who are joining, and it may have something to do with the fact that hip hop is informing my style. And then, I didn't mind, dropping some bars every now and then. My daughter says I'm a frustrated rap artist because I will, open up with some bars that I am the author of. And so, but of course, I'm going crazy as the 90s hit and Tupac is rapping And what blesses me with Tupac is that I'm also wrestling with the social justice implications of the gospel. And Tupac is down with that because you got to understand, I grew up in the Bay Area. And so I'm across the bridge from the Black Panther Party. And my generation is feeling, you know, the Black Panther Party speaking truth to power, you know, policing the police, and, you know, basically organizing the community, you know, for self-sufficiency and agency. And all of that is informing my sense of who Jesus was and is. And so all of that, so you have Tupac, who is, you know, dropping some bars that marry, as it were, the culture with what? Liberation. His mother is a member of the Black Panther Party. And so, you know, all of that started to grab me. And then, you know, again, I'm an illustration fanatic, and the fact that hip hop began taking, as it were, leftovers, you know, and making art out of leftovers. And that's black folk, black genius, taking, you know, okay, y'all give us the scraps, and then you're going to end up coming to our museum saying, okay, this is art. And so, I mean, that's straight Jesus, that's straight Bible. And so me and hip hop affirmed my preaching personality, and then began to inform my sense of social consciousness as it relates to, you know, what, wedding Jesus and justice. And then hip hop blessed me because all these folks started coming to church, and I even get known as the hip hop preacher. And I'm like, okay, I'm with it.
I love that. And you talked about the social justice aspect. So not only are you known for like culture and hip hop, but also your continued fight and amplification of black voices, making sure that the message of liberation for black people is centered. What does that look like, though? Like, what is the evidence of black liberation?
Yeah, thank you for that. It has what I call layers. I begin with Adam Clayton Powell Jr. He said, real freedom, liberation, is going to be an internal achievement as opposed to an external adjustment. And so internally, so freedom starts within. So when Jesus says, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free, that means it's the lies that lock us up. And so, as Baldwin said, the big lie locked us up in a nation saying we're less than human. So if the truth sets us free, it's when we affirm within our sense of humanity. We affirm within that we are first class. So it starts with us seeing us. We okay, we all right, you know. And again, going back to hip hop was doing that for us. And at its best, it does that for us. And so when Jesus says to his people who are occupied by Rome, you're the light of the world, the salt of the earth, I mean, that's saying something. He's trying to liberate them from within. Because if you have an external adjustment before the internal achievement, it means, okay, I've made a move to another side of town, but I simply have moved there and carried the baggage of my internalized oppression with me into this new setting, only to prove that I'm still less than, not equal to. So if I'm internally achieving that liberation, then the good news is I can live wherever I want to live and feel like what? I'm first class. I'm first class even in an apartment that some call the slums, but because I am first class, I'm about to transform this slummy situation into that which reflects who I am. And so for me, that's why it's very important. And again, I ain't anti-white at all. I'm anti-white supremacy. I'm anti-white racism. But I am pro everybody, but especially us, because, you know, that's why we say Black Lives Matter. We say Black Lives Matter because in too many instances we're shown it does not matter. And so on one level it's the internal achievement. On the next level it's Black Lives Mattering. So that what happens, what was the song? We that believe in freedom shall not rest until it comes, until the killing of a black mother's son is met with the same response as that of a white mother's son. We that believe in freedom shall not rest until it comes. We're basically saying freedom looks like our lives mattering just like other lives matter. Here it is, in systems, in structures, because that's where our lives don't matter. I love the Black Lives Matter movement in spite of how they have been miscaricatured by those who don't want black lives to matter, and so they're looking for anything negative to say about them. But here's what they said that was so powerful. They said racism ain't about someone not liking me. Racism has to do with these systems and structures that make me feel that my life does not matter. So Eddie Glaude Jr., who I often talk about, he says in the country there's not just the achievement gap, the wealth gap, the education gap, there's the value gap, where some of us are not valued as much as others. And so in this country, we will be truly liberated and free when that value gap closes and all of us are valued. There is no hierarchy of value. Everyone values, everyone is valued, and their lives matter when they come in contact with police, when they go to the bank for a loan, when they find themselves going to the voting booth, when they find themselves the beneficiary of policies that affirm all and not just some. That's what liberation looks like. Liberation looks like a marriage with justice. And when the marriage with justice takes place, then we give birth to transformation for all of us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, indeed. Thank you for that. And you mentioned in that response these differences in responses. And with everything that's happening, and I know you're in tune with the world, how do you feel about the disparities in responses to disparaging remarks against black people as opposed to other groups?
There's someone whose name I don't know if I should call, but it was real interesting. This person, in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, said George Bush doesn't like black people and doesn't care about black people. And now the sad reality is Kanye West don't care about black people. And so Kanye West don't care about black people, so he wears with, you know, the sister who definitely hates black people, you know, White Lives Matter shirt in Paris at a fashion, you know, piece, fashion week. And, you know, people really, you know, okay, black folk are bothered by it. Some black people are bothered, not all. But then he makes disparaging remarks about Jews, and Adidas drops him. He's no longer a billionaire. He gets economically hit when he makes disparaging remarks about Jews. But when it was just about black folk, it was like, okay, it's controversial, but we'll still keep him. But then all of a sudden he makes them about Jews. And this is why we say Black Lives Matter, because the response, I love your phraseology, the diverse response to, okay, disparaging remarks about the Jewish community, which is dead wrong. Let me be real clear on that. It's dead wrong, okay? I'm with Vincent Harding, who said, do you want to be free, or do you want everyone to be free? I want everyone to be free, okay? So don't disparage Jews, don't disparage us, but may the response be equal. So Adidas, you know, I can't wear you no more because you basically have said our lives don't matter because you did not have that response when Kanye continued to say hateful things. I mean, slavery a choice. Okay, Adidas, where are you? You still want to give him love as long as he says slavery's a choice, white lives matter. Where were you? But your response is different because black life still does not matter. And sadly, it does not matter when you have black people becoming puppets for white supremacy. And Kanye West has decided to serve as a puppet for white supremacy after black folk made him so wealthy. Because it was Jay-Z. Jay even said, you know, hey, I'm responsible for 3 billionaires now. And one of them is Kanye West. So don't turn on the people who basically helped to make you who you are right now and think that becoming, again, a puppet for white supremacy is going to, what, add to your coffers, because you're getting shown right now that eventually you're going to find out you still us.
Yes, you still us.
Yeah, so, and I'm sorry I got so hyped about that, but it just irks me that, you know, number one, he's become a Judas for the very people who have built him up, he's from the south side of Chicago. He ain't from the north side of Chicago, okay? The north side would not have given him a hearing back in the day, okay? And so I go on and on, but I'll stop with this, and that is, I'm ticked at Kanye without question.
Sure.
And I try not to give him any energy, but I'm really ticked, and we need to be real upset about, and I love your language, the different response. Kanye, as long as he was dissing us, okay, it's controversial. But once he started dissing Jews, it cost him. Big difference between controversy and cost.
My goodness. That, you're so powerful. That is your ministry. That has been your ministry. Your passion, everything that comes forth. My last question is, what has surprised you the most about your ministry?
Oh, wow. So, wow, it's always going to be the response of people who share with me, you know, what a message did. I got a sister right now I'm supposed to be talking to this afternoon, and she just brought me to tears last year, 2020, getting ready for the election, and she's a on-the-ground activist in Dallas, in Texas, you know, she's a community organizer, and she asked me to, during a Zoom, inspire her workers who are about to go out and register people to vote and all this stuff. And so she said this, she introduced me, she said, I just need everyone to know this is my pastor, and because I hadn't seen her in church in a long time. And she said, this is my pastor, and it was through his ministry that I got radicalized. And she started talking about the stuff we were doing, sermons I had preached, and she said the reason she's doing the community work she's doing now is because she got radicalized at Friendship West. Now in this country, that's a bad word, because they associate it with what? Those who become terrorists. But radicalized, when you look at the etymology of it, it talks about those who get to the root of issues in order to bring about what? Transformation. And she said she got radicalized at Friendship West.
Yes.
And it's cool to get evangelized. I want everybody saved.
Yeah.
But if I think about what I'm really trying to get done, and because one of my, it was real funny, somebody who doesn't like me at the church years ago said, "You're just trying to start a revolution." And I said, you know what, you're right. Yeah, because we need a revolution.
Yes.
In this city, in this state, in this country, we need a revolution. So you're right. And so when a hater says in a disparaging fashion, you're trying to start a revolution, And my clap back is, you know, you got that right. And then I hear someone say, I got radicalized at Friendship West. I said, don't judge me. Hell to the yeah. That's what I'm talking about. You got radicalized at Friendship West. Do not judge me, police camera. Don't judge me. But that was fire for me. That a sister, because I maintain anybody who gets hooked up with Jesus, they get radicalized. So Jesus says, okay, you're gonna be my witnesses, my martyrs is the Greek word. You're gonna be my martyrs all over the world. And by Acts chapter 17, they are accused of turning the world upside down. Evidently, they got radicalized by Jesus. So I think the church ought to evangelize and radicalize. And so when I think about what really excites, turns me on about, that surprised me when she said, you know, and again on the heels of someone saying, "You trying to start a revolution?" And then she introduces me. I got radicalized under him. Man, that surprised me, but it also said, thank you, Jesus.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much. I told you this privately, but I'll tell you publicly as well, because your ministry reaches across the country.
Bless you.
And my mom, I was so excited to tell her that I was going to sit down with you. And she said, Nikki, you make sure you tell him that for revival on Halloween 1996, he preached a sermon titled, When God Meets You at the End of. And she said, I was at the end. And I heard his sermon. And because of his sermon, I walked to the front of that church and I joined that church.
That does it for me.
So she's here, I'm here. So we are just so blessed by you and your ministry. So thank you.
That does it for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bless you.